وصلاة ربي وسلامه ورحمته وبركاته على ذاك النبي الكريم نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. We continue in Usul Thalatha, 2:30 p.m. Sunday, March the 24th, which now agrees on the day of Rajab. As we move on in this month, the 17th of Rajab, 1440 after the Hijrah of Mustafa alayhi salatu wasalam. And inshallah, bi'idhnillah, next week, maybe perhaps we'll start, rather we will start Bulugh al-Maram in the chapter of Siyam and the other different affairs connected with the month of Ramadan, inshallah. The time is winding down, and to get ourselves prepared, inshallah, we'll start the books as far as the ahkam of Siyam, the things that's related to it and connected with it. As we continue in Usul al-Thalatha, we finished the qa'idah where it says, or the principle where he said, if إذا قيل لك بما عرفت ربك فقل بآياته ومخلوقاته ومن آياته الليل والنهار والشمس والقمر. And if it's said to you by what you, or what sign, or by what you know your Lord, say by his ayat and his makhluqat. We talked about before that this statement here, if everyone looks in their book, if you look in the book in the principle, it says to say by his ayat. And we talked about ayat has numerous meanings. Ayat, we talked about, for example, al-adilat al-shar'iyah, that you have signs of Allah Ta'ala that comes in his book. As we know, even the kitab or the Quran itself is an ayah. That in itself is considered a sign, due to the shumuliyah, if you want to say, for the comprehensiveness of the religion, and how in perfect order it is, and how complete it is in its comprehensive for every aspect of life and every affair connected with our daily lives, whether it be on a level domestically or politically or economically or business transactions. You'll find that this religion is covered every affair that's connected with our lives. And when one looks at the Kitab and Sunnah and how great order it is, and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala perfected his religion and completed it, he will come to the conclusion, meaning the abd or the slave himself will know that that is a sign. That in itself is a sign, as we talked about. We talked about the evidences in Kitab and Sunnah is considered ayah. Also, for example, al-adilat al-kawniyah, also the evidence and signs within the creation is also from those ayat. We also talked about the miracles of the prophets. They are called ayat. And so on and so forth, as we discussed last week. Excuse me. We also talked about that there are ayat which was utilized by the prophets and messengers of before. From them is Prophet Ibrahim. You'll find that it comes in the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how Allah ta'ala describes his signs also of the creation, is the sun and the moon, and the night and the day. That's also from his ayat. When we have the opportunity, we'll discuss more in depth of what took place with Ibrahim and his people. As Ibrahim was given alayhi wa ala nabiyina afdal as-salatu wa tamm at-taslim, your father Ibrahim, Abu al-Anbiya, Khalil ar-Rahman. Ibrahim was also from those who was given the eloquence of speech to the point he was able to establish the proof against his people of establishing that they were upon falsehood in regards to their polytheism and their idolatry, of them setting up partners with Allah. And Ibrahim was one of the most greatest, if not those are the prophets that were given the eloquence as far as in knowing how to establish the proof against their people and knowing how to do it in a very, very acceptable manner and in a way that they cannot deny. You'll find that the ayahs we talked about, where Allah Ta'ala talks about the story of Ibrahim, where Ibrahim used ayat from the creation to establish that Allah is the one that deserves to be worshipped alone. Where it comes to Surah Al-An'am. When we talked about that Ibrahim, if you look at Surah Al-An'am, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَكَذَلِكَ نُرِي إِبْرَاهِيمَ مَلَكُوتَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَلِيَكُونَ مِنَ الْمُوقِنِينَ فَلَمَّا جَنَّ عَلَيْهِ اللَّيْلُ رَأَى كَوْكَبًا قال هذا ربي فلما أفل قال لا أحب الآفلين فلما رأى القمر بازغا قال هذا ربي فلما أفل قال لئن لم يهدني ربي لأكونن من القوم الضالين. Allah Ta'ala talks about in Surah Al-An'am using all these different signs that we just mentioned, whether they be in the Kitab, whether they be in the Sunnah. When you want to call the people to what is correct, you utilize these signs that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made either in His book or within His creation in order to establish to the people that He's the one that deserves to be worshipped. But not only that, but if you want to go beyond that, in order to establish that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exists, His existence, because there's too many signs. Then after you've established that affair, because we know they are from the kuffar that deny the existence of Allah ta'ala, which is absolute preposterous, and it is absolute, if you want to say, condescending in regards to the nature of the human being, where there's too many evidences and proofs to affirm the existence of Allah. It's too many to be counted. Even now, like we said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making His signs clear even amongst the creation and amongst these scientists and these non-Muslims. They're starting to find genetic codes now and zip codes within the human being that send certain affairs, and how they find like what they would think is like a computer in the genes or the DNA of the cells. They find like it's like a millions of like, if we want to understand, is computer files. That there cannot be something like one, or that just happened, for example, by chance or haphazardly. That was something that was created by one that perfects and is an architect and knows what he's doing and knows what he's creating, and he's all knowledgeable and aware. And they're starting to draw up these conclusions every day. There's no way that this happened by chance. This was made by someone. And all of them are starting to draw up this conclusion. Even the non-Muslims are starting to say it's impossible to now deny that there was a creator, and that there was a one that actually architect all this and perfected what he was doing, what he was creating. So just to make a strong or point, just to keep on the topic, all these are different signs that we need to utilize when we give da'wah. We talked about the Quran, how it can't be tampered with. We talked about the authentic sunnah. It can't be tampered with. The meaning can't be changed. That's a sign. And also, when one is calling the people to Islam, he utilizes the signs within the creation. And the example of that is what happened with the story of Ibrahim. He utilized the signs with the creation. Rather, we talked about last week, the greatest of signs that one can utilize to call someone to the truth is to utilize the signs that are those signs that constantly change. Not only they're great as far as what we see on a daily basis of the sun and the moon. No doubt that is from the great signs of the creation. But you'll also know that Ahl Ilm say in this regard that these type of signs that they change constantly from night to day, and they alternate. And those signs that change, they have more of an impact and influence upon the people. That's the reason why you'll find in the story what happened with Ibrahim, that he utilized the sun and the moon and the night and the day in order to establish the proof against them. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exists, and that Allah deserves to be worshipped, and the rububiyyah and the lordship of Allah over all of His creation, His dominance over the creation. That's what we mentioned last class. In summary, this is what we said, that the sun and the moon and the night and the day is from those signs that Allah ta'ala made to establish to the creation for the awareness of His existence, and that He deserves to be worshipped. Just to move on, because I don't want to keep in this topic because we have to move on. If one would flip the page and look at the principles, if you look in the book again. Now, if you look in the books again, it says, وَمِن مَخْلُوقَاتِ السَّمَوَاتِ السَّبْعِ وَالْأَرْضُونَ السَّبْعِ وَمَنْ فِيهِنْ وَمَا بَيْنَهُمَا. And from His makhluqat, from His creations, is the 7 heavens and the 7 earths, and what is in them and what is between them. And if you flip the page, keep reading, everyone. وَالدَّلِيلُ قَوْلُهُ ta'ala, He says, and the evidence is, وَمِنْ آيَاتِ اللَّيْلُ وَالنَّهَارُ وَالشَّمْسُ وَالْقَمَرُ. لا تسجدوا للشمس ولا للقمر واسجدوا لله الذي خلقهن إن كنتم إياه تعبدون. And from his signs is the night and the day, and the sun and the moon. Do not prostrate to the sun nor to the moon. Prostrate to Allah, or prostrate for Allah, the one who created them. If you truly, in reality, single him out in worship. Flip the page. Also, the next page, you look in the next ayah. Allah Ta'ala says in his book, and the author goes on to say, the great Imam al-Shaykh Muhammad Abdur Wahab, he also brought another evidence. If you look in your books, he says, verily your Lord is the one that created the 7 heavens and earths in 6 days. Then he ascended above the arsh. He covers the night with the day, and the day, of course, with the night, and you'll find that they alternate, and one is coming right behind the other very quickly and fast. And the sun and the moon and the stars have been subjected by his command. Doesn't it not belong to him, creation, the affair, or the command, excuse me. May he be blessed, who Allah, the Lord of the Alameen. Now flip the page. Then the great Imam, he goes on to say, وَالرَّبْ هُوَ الْمَعْبُودِ. The Lord, he is the one that is worshipped. And then Allah Ta'ala says in his book, Surah Al-Baqarah, O mankind, worship your Lord, the one who created you, and the one who created those before you, in order for you to attain taqwa. And everyone flip the page again. It goes on the next qa'idah as it says, that Ibn Kathir says, Al-Khaliqu lihadihi al-ashya' wal-mustahiqu lil-ibadah. The one who created these things, he is the one that deserves to be worshipped. So we'll try to take all this all at once. I'm going to move a little bit quickly in the book. Right. So to go to this, if you return back to what we started, if everyone flipped the page, it says, from the makhluqat, from the creation, is the 7 heavens and the 7 earths, and what is in them and what is between them. Right. So you have makhluqat. From the makhluqat is the 7 heavens. As we know, ya ma'ashal ikhwa wal akhawat, to those who are listening, that we know there are 7 heavens, and there are likewise 7 earths. The 7 heavens, you'll find in which Allah Ta'ala called them sab'an shidada. You'll find that Allah Ta'ala called the 7 heavens 7 stern heavens in one ayah, which is in Surah An-Naba. That Allah described his makhluqat as samawat as-sab', the 7 heavens. You'll find that in the book of Allah, Allah Ta'ala calls the heavens, and he has numbered them, that he has enumerated them by being 7. Each heaven is greater, or each level of one was ascending, just as the Messenger of Allah ascended above the heavens. And when he reached the gate of one heaven, and it was sought for him he sought to open the other one, then that one was what? Just as great as the other. So all these heavens are very vast. A person would say, well, what's the dalil? From the dalil is what Ibn Mas'ud mentioned about the heavens, that each distance between one to the other is the distance of what a person will understand amongst the human beings is the traveling distance of 500 years. And that's from each heaven to another heaven. Also, you'll find that from Ahl Ilm that mention and say that when the people enter paradise, and the tremendous reward that each one will be given, even the person that receives the least reward, that person who received the least reward will have similar to what one has in this dunya, rather, he will have 10 folds of that. So you can imagine that one person, when he enters paradise, he will have this dunya and have it multiplied by 10 folds in one narration, as it says. So that's the least person that will receive a reward for the person or the last of those who went into paradise. So basically, he will receive this dunya since how Allah created it, and the first, when he started it or originated this dunya, and given 10 more. That's for the least person that will what? Receive the least reward. And will receive the what? The smallest reward in comparison to what will be for those who are in the higher level paradise. So a person now will have this dunya in 10 folds of it. So now the people or the inhabitants of paradise, for those who receive the greatest reward, you'll find that Ahl al-Ilm will mention and say that paradise is very what? Huge. Very big. The vastness of it, due to the fact of the tremendous rewards that certain people will be given, is an indication that Jannah or paradise in the hereafter will be huge, very, very big, very vast. Similar to that, likewise, is the hellfire. May Allah Ta'ala keep us and you away from it. Likewise, will be very huge, very big. To the point, like we know, that even in certain narrations that the sun and the moon will be put in the hellfire. And there will be people who will be big, and we know that the creation, the stature of everyone in the hereafter will be changed. As everyone will be now big in their stature and huge. The people of paradise and the people of the hellfire. So all this is to show the vastness of the heavens and the earth, and likewise paradise, to let us know that the heavens are very vast, very huge. Too much to the point where we know that Allah Ta'ala has said about his arsh, the arsh al-Rahman, and the mawdi' al-Qadamain, which is the kursi, in regards to this dunya and the 7 heavens, is just like one of you that took a piece of a ring or iron ring or a piece of our armor and he threw it in the middle of a desolate desert. That's what we'll discuss inshallah in a couple of minutes. So first thing we say about the makhluqat is the 7 heavens. Allah himself has said that the heavens are 7, which is in the last ayah in Surah Al-Talaq. Allah Ta'ala says in his book, Allahu alladhi rafa'a as-sab'a samawat wa min al-ardi mithlahun yatanazzalu al-amru baynahun. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says he's the one that has raised the 7 heavens. So that's in the book of Allah. So the love or the wording comes in the book of Allah. We'll also discuss how the 7 earths, the actual word 7 is not mentioned in the book of Allah. The word 7. But it is affirmed in the book of Allah where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says he's the one who's raised 7 heavens and earths that are similar to it. But the word sab'ah or 7 is not mentioned in the book of Allah. 7 earths. 7 earths. But the word 7 earths is mentioned in the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned in Sahih Bukhari where he said, "Man iqtata'a ardan, man iqtata'a shibra ard or ardan, dhulman tawaqahu Allah bi sab'i aradin." He says, whoever steals the arm span of land from a Muslim or from a person out of oppression, he tries to steal it and take it from him out of oppression, Allah Ta'ala, as a punishment for him on the day of resurrection, will wrap around his neck 7 earths. 7 earths. So that narration is to show in the authentic Sunnah that there are 7 earths. There was mentioned 7. So from the aqidah of the belief of one is that he believes there are 7 heavens. Likewise, we believe there are 7 earths. Allah Ta'ala in his book and in the Sunnah talks about the earth and how he spread it out. He made it vast. Also in other ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about how he made the earth as a place for settlement and to go about in its land for one to take care of their daily affairs. And how he made the earth and the land laid out and facilitated for the people to go about in it to take care and handle their affairs. And Allah tells us to contemplate on his creation, about the camels, of how they created, and also look into the heavens, how he raised them, and to the mountains, and how he's made them high and elevated, and the earth, and how he, like we said, made it flat and laid out and facilitated. And the heavens and the earth are all signs for the mu'mineen, for those who have surety. For if a person was to look to the earth and the heavens, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about how he created the earth before the heavens, which is in Surah Fussilat. Allah ta'ala talked about how he created the earth before the heavens, while the heavens were dukhan, while the heavens were smoke, or what we understand as smoke. As Allah ta'ala talks about in Surah Fussilat, oh man, we're going to talk about that. Allah ta'ala talks about in Surah Fussilat, ثم استوى إلى السماء وهي دخان وقال لها وللأرض ائتيا طوعا وكرها قالتا أتينا طائعين. Where Allah ta'ala talks about in Surah Fussilat, Allah ta'ala says in Surah Fussilat, he said, وَجَعَلَ فِيهَا رَوَاسِي مِنْ فَوْقِهَا وَبَارَكَ فِيهَا وَقَدَّرَ فِيهَا. Surah Fussilat, ayah number 10. وَقَدَّرَ فِيهَا أَقْوَاتَهَا فِي 4 أيام سَوَاءً لِلسَّائِلِينَ ثُمَّ اسْتَوَى إِلَى السَّمَاءِ وَهِيَ دُخَانٌ. So Allah ta'ala talks about how he created the earth before the heavens. Surah Fussilat, ayah number 10. So he said, then he placed in the earth firmly, set mountains over its surface, and he blessed it and determined therein its creatures and sustenance in 4 days. So Allah ta'ala created the earth what? Within 4 days. Allah clearly says that in Surah Fussilat, ayat number 10, he says that he... Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about how he created the earth before the heavens. So the creation of the earth preceded the creation of the heavens. Allah ta'ala says he placed in the earth firmly, on the earth, firmly set mountains over its surface. And he blessed it and determined therein its creatures and sustenance in 4 days, without distinction. And he said, for those who want to what? Who want to seek its information, for those who ask about it, inquire about this affair. Meaning, Allah is clarifying the creation of how he made it and what preceded from the creation of the heavens and the earth. So we said firstly, number one, that the earth was preceded its creation as far as the heavens. It came before the heavens. Then number 11, and if you look in the ayah, Surah Fussilat, ayah number 11, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, then he, tabarak wa ta'ala, ascended to the heavens, and it was smoke, and said to it, to the earth, meaning the heavens and the earth both, come willingly or out of compulsion. And they both said that we come willingly. Me coming, we submit to your command. So this is to show, number one, or the point of reference is that the earth preceded the creation of the heavens, or it came before the heavens, or the creation of the heavens. Then number two, that the heavens was created within how many days? So we have 4 for the earth, and we know that Allah ta'ala created the heavens and the earth in how many days? 6. Fi sittati ayyam. So you have the earth was created in what? 4. So what's left? The heavens. The heavens were created in how many? 2 days. So what's the complete number? Complete number is 6. طيب, a person might ask, isn't Allah capable of creating the heavens and the earth in the blink of an eye? And why did it take 6 days? As we know, even in, of course, from the distortions of the Bible, you'll find that they mention and say that Allah created, of course, the heavens and the earth within those certain amount of days, the same days we mentioned. Then He rested. As we know, the word rested, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refutes that nonsense. This nonsense is mentioned even from the distortions of the Christians in their Bible. It says He rested. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says clearly in Surah Ayatul Kursi, لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم. Slumberness or weariness or tiredness or exhaustion never overtakes Him. So that's number one. Allah ta'ala talks about how He created the heavens and the earth, and nothing touched Him of exhaustion or weariness or tiredness at all. So that's number one. You'll find that's an ayah. And Allah knows best. That ayah was a refutation against those who say that Allah rests. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, that He talked about in His book in Surah Al-Qaf, He says that He created the heavens and the earth fi sittati ayyam wa ma massana min lughub. Nothing touched us of weariness or exhaustion after we created the heavens and the earth in 6 days. Nothing touched us of weariness or exhaustion. طيب. So a person would say, for what's the reason why the heavens and the earth was created within this period of time? So you have the earth that was in 4, and then you have the heavens, which were in what? Which was in 2. So the first of creation was, of course, the heavens, the earth and the heavens. So 2 questions we might ask. Number 1 is, why did it take 6 days to create it, the heavens and the earth? If Allah Ta'ala is able to create these things in a blink of an eye, why was it not created like that instead of taking 6 days? Why did it take 6 days when Allah is able to create it within the blink of an eye? That's the first question. The second question is, why is in the book of Allah the heavens mentioned first before the earth, even though the earth preceded the heavens in its creation? I'll say it again. We said and established that the earth was created first. Then it came after it was the what? The heavens. But if you notice in a lot of ayat in the book of Allah, Allah mentions the heavens first, then the what? Then the earth. You'll find in a lot of ayats. So many, it can't be counted. Allah will say, Allahu alladhi khalaqa as-samawati wal-ard. He created the heavens and the earth. So that's the 2 questions we want to ask. For first question, I'll say it again. Why is it that the creation of the heavens and the earth was done in 6 days? Is it not Allah able to create it in the blink of an eye or less? That's the first question. The second question, why is it in the Quran, in so many ayats, that the heavens are mentioned first before the earth, even though the earth came first in its creation? So is it clear the questions I'm asking? Jayyid. For the answer for number 1, as the great Imam Ibn Uthaymeen even mentioned this answer, which is a tremendous, profound answer. He said, number 1, Allah Ta'ala wanted to show the people that things that are of perfection, if you want to do an act and perfect it, or art or craft, or something of an action, of something that is beneficial. And if He wants to perfect it, He wanted to teach the people that what? That when they want to perfect an act or perfect some type of craft, that he should take him or her time. What He said, He wanted to teach them a tu'ada. He wanted to teach them that if you want to perfect something, not to rush, but to take your time. So as one of the answers that the great Imam Ibn Uthaymeen mentions, he said for a person that perfects a craft, or perfects an art or a job or whatever it is of something beneficial for your life, even in your religion, that perfection and mastering or being proficient at an affair, it takes time, not the rush. So that is one of the hikam of why it was created in 6 days, because Allah Ta'ala talks about how He perfected the heavens and the earth and its creation, and there's not any rifts or anything lacking in it. Rather, Allah Ta'ala perfected it, and He made it absolute without any type of what? Imperfection. So that was one of the reasons you'll find at Ahl-Ilm that they mention in regards to why the creation of the heavens and the earth was done within 6 days. That's the first answer. The second answer they say, which is along with the first is correct, and the second one is that Allah Ta'ala, for each part of the creation, arranged it in order, in a certain manner, in each creation. And that arrangement, He perfected. And one layer was done after the other. One layer of the creation was done after the other. Because we just mentioned in the first part of this class, there are 7 heavens, and likewise there are what? 7 earths. So one layer was done, then another, then so on and so forth. Then, like we said, based upon the first answer, Allah Ta'ala wanted to show the creation and show everyone that anything that you want to perfect and be proficient at, you should take your time, not to rush. Hence, you'll find that Ibn Kathir and other than them, which is Ijma' the Salaf, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is able to create the heavens and the earth within the blink of an eye or less. But Allah ta'ala, out of His infinite wisdom, wanted to show the creation the wisdom behind certain affairs, such as things that have perfection in it, that you need to have patience and you need to take your time to perfect your craft or to perfect what you want to what? Have excellence in. Whether it be in slaughtering a beast or seeking knowledge or memorizing or whatever type of job you might have, that one should take his time and not to rush. So that's the answer to the first question. The answer to the second one. The answer to the second one is that why did Allah Ta'ala in so many ayats mention the heavens before the earth, even though the earth came first? Allah Ta'ala mentioned the heavens in so many ayats before the earth for this reason. They say due to the fact that the heavens are greater. They are greater, they're more vast, and they're more what? Bigger. They're more greater, more vast, more expanded, more space. They're greater. If you look to the heavens and the earth and look to even to the heavens to show how vast it is, to show the greatness of how Allah Ta'ala made the heavens over the earth. So for this reason, you'll find in the book of Allah of why the heavens was mentioned first before the earth, due to its greatness and its magnificence and its vastness. So that's the reason why the heavens in the ayat in the book of Allah that you'll see, if you was to read, it preceded the earth, even though the earth was created before the heavens. As we know, also, that the creation was made, it was created in 6 days. You'll find that Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah, that he mentioned in about a particular benefit, that he says that Shaykh al-Islam قد ثبت في الحديث الصحيح المتفق على صحته أن آخر المخلوقات كان آدم خلق يوم الجمعة وإذا كان آخر الخلق كان يوم الجمعة دل على أن أوله كان يوم الأحد لأنها 6 ولو كان أول الخلق يوم السبت وآخره يوم الجمعة لكان قد خلق في الأيام 7 وخلاف ما أخبر به القرآن. You'll find that Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah says it's been established and affirmed in the authentic hadith which has been agreed upon in its authenticity. He said that the last of those, or last of the creation, was Adam. Adam was created Yawm al-Jumu'ah. Adam was created Yawm al-Jumu'ah. And if the last of creation, who was Adam, was Yawm al-Jumu'ah, then that's an indication that the first day of creation was when? Was Sunday, Yawm al-Ahad. It was Sunday. So the creation started Yawm al-Ahad, Sunday. And the last of creation was what? Friday. Which makes it complete 6. And if the last of creation was Saturday, وَآخِرُهُ يَوْمُ الْجُمُعَةِ وَلَوْ كَانَ أَوْلُ الْخَلْقِ يَوْمُ السَّبْتِ. And if we was to say that the first of creation was started on Saturday, and the last was Jumu'ah, then that means that the creation of the heavens and the earth and everything between it was done within 7 days. And that is in contrast to what the Quran informed. So you'll find that this is what is correct. What is correct, that the first of creation started Sunday. And the last of it, which was Adam, was done Yawm al-Jumu'ah. If you notice in your book, if everyone looks, I don't want to go too much to details, too many. طيب. You'll find in a lot of the ayahs that we've been mentioning that about the 7 heavens, all of them are vast. As we talked about how Abdullah ibn Mas'ud mentioned and said, the distance from one heaven to the other is the distance of what we will understand of the traveling distance of 500 years. The traveling distance of 500 years. 500 years. And one from one heaven to the other is similar to that. You'll find that the Messenger of Allah on the night of Qisat al-Isra wal-Mi'raj, when the Messenger of Allah ascended above the heavens, until each heaven had a gate, in which the Messenger of Allah had asked that one gate be open when he ascended to one, that he sought that one gate be opened, and it was opened, and he ascended to the other, and then that one was also very vast, and then that one had to be sought for it to be open, and then that opened, and he ascended all the way up till the what? Until he reached the highest. The highest, in which the Prophet ﷺ spoke directly to Allah Ta'ala. And in that is the evidence and proof clearly that what? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is above the heavens. Based upon the angel Jibreel himself, that he took the Messenger ﷺ up above the heavens. It says clearly in the narration. And from one heaven to another heaven, to another heaven, to another heaven. And like we said, each heaven had its own what? Gate, in which one had to be sought to be open, and for order for it to be open, for the Messenger of Allah ﷺ to ascend to the next one. Then that one was sought to be open, then that was open, then that was a gate to the open up to the next one. Where's all this distance? 500 years? Is that here in the dunya? As you'll find that the deviant sects from the Asha'ira and the Jahmiyyah, what they say doesn't absolutely make any sense. So where's all this distance that was mentioned in all these athar of 500 years? And one heaven to the other. There was another, that the gate had to be opened from that one to the other, then from that one to the other, then from that one to the other. And all this vastness and then this distance, this great distance of 500 years. Where's all this distance? It couldn't be here in the dunya. Which is to clearly show that what? That this is all affirmation of the aboveness and highness of Allah above His creation. طيب. The ascension, as we know, of Allah Ta'ala is an ascension that does not resemble the ascension of the creation. But we understand the general meaning, وَالْمَعْنَى الْعَامِ, the general meaning, but the comprehension of how it was done is incapable for the creation to what? Have any type of encompassment in the knowledge of how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ascended. It is way beyond our comprehension. As you'll find, like we talked about, even if you want to come from the aspect of the aql, of the intellect, no one can comprehend that something can hear everything in the heavens and the earth simultaneously. Nobody can either fathom or understand how something can see everything in the heavens and the earth simultaneously at the same time. You cannot even understand that. Your mind cannot comprehend. Not only Allah hears everything in the heavens and the earth, and due to its vast distance, Allah hears everything in the heavens and the earth. But He also understands the different languages simultaneously. The different languages and the different requests of the people simultaneously, all done at the same time. You can't comprehend that. So if you cannot comprehend, how can you think you can comprehend how Allah ascended above the creation? How? You can't even comprehend your own soul in your body. How it ascends at night when you sleep and it leaves your body, and at the same time it's still connected to it. Because if you was to totally leave your body, you'd be dead. But it has some type of connection with your body while you sleep, due to the fact that sleep is called the minor death. As we know, sleep is called minor death. So that means it leaves your body, but it's still connected with it at the same time. The major death is when your body totally departs, when the soul totally departs from the body. That's the major death. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about this in His book, in which I don't have time to get into right now. But the point of the matter is that the soul itself is created, and we cannot even fathom and comprehend the quintessence of the soul and how it conducts, and that's created. And that's way beyond our comprehension of how the soul conducts in one's body, how it leaves and departs but still connected, and how it totally leaves at one's death, where one now has entered the realm of major death due to the departure of the soul from the body totally. No one can even comprehend that, and that's created, because we know that the ruh, that the soul is created by Allah. And that in itself is amazing and astonishing and bewildering of how the soul, how it conducts, and it's way beyond our comprehension of how it leaves the body and how it's still connected at the same time. That's on a high level of creation in which we don't even understand. If that's the case of something that's created, what about the Creator? How can you even begin to think that your mind can even draw near comprehension of the essence of Allah Ta'ala? You can't even comprehend His characteristics. His characteristics is way beyond our comprehension. Like we just mentioned, it said, no one can understand and comprehend in our minds right now something that can hear everything at the same time. Everything. Can your mind now understand something that can see everything at the same time? What is that? Wow. Something that can hear all at the same time. Something that can see at the same time. Those are His characteristics. So if you can't understand His knowledge, having knowledge of everything, and the knowledge of the beginning and the ending and comprehending everything, you cannot comprehend Him seeing everything, or hearing everything, or understanding everything, all at the same time. The needs and the lughat, or the languages of the people. And we know that the people have different languages. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala understands them all at the same time. And also the different requests and the needs and the difficulties and the adversity of certain people when they ask. Allah understands their invocations and their different requests all at the same time. If that you cannot understand these characteristics, how can you think you can understand that His ascension above the Arsh? And then on top of that, if you want to get into a higher level, if you can't understand that, how do you think you can really comprehend His essence of how He is, Tabarak wa Ta'ala? If you can't even comprehend His characteristics. His characteristics is from His essence. And al-kalam fi sifat far'un an kalami fi dhat. Yahdhu hadwa. Speaking about his characteristics is speaking about his essence. They emulate each other. You cannot understand the characteristics of Allah Ta'ala. This is for all the more reason that you will never understand his essence. Allah Ta'ala also speaks about the Arsh. It's from the greatest of creation. As we know, the Arsh is the greatest of creation. Rather, it is the Saqf al-Makhluqat. Rather, we know that the Arsh, the throne of Allah Ta'ala, is the roof of the creation. It's considered the roof, the Saqf, which is the roof of creation, is the Arsh. And the Arsh of Ar-Rahman is the greatest creation in comparison to all the other creation. And to the point where we know that Ibn Abbas mentioned and said that the Arsh cannot be measured. لا يقدر قدره. That it cannot be measured in its distance and its vastness of how big it is. As we talked about the creation of the heavens being vast of 500 years, which is the distance between each one. Then we know at the above the 7 heavens, there is a kursi. There's the footstool of Allah. Where Ibn Abbas mentioned and said that is the mawdi'ul qadamayn lil-Rahman. That is the place of the 2 feet. The 2 feet of Allah Ta'ala, that there's the kursi, the footstool, in which we understand, in which Ibn Abbas mentions in the other. And we know that the 7 heavens, in comparison to the kursi, Allah Ta'ala describes the footstool as what? That it encompasses, rather dominates all of the 7 heavens and the earths. All of them. Just the mere footstool of Allah. To the point where Abdullah ibn Mas'ud mentioned and said about the footstool in comparison to the 7 heavens, due to its great distance and vastness, is nothing in comparison to the footstool of Allah. Rather, he said in the narration, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, where he mentioned and said, he says, أنا الكرسي يعني بالنسبة للسبع السماوات وكذلك الأراضين السبع وموضع القدمين كحلقة من حديد ألقي بأرض فلاة. That he said that the 7 heavens in comparison to the footstool of Ar-Rahman. He says if you want to see that all that great vast distance of the 7 heavens and the greatness of it in comparison to the footstool is like one of you taking a small ring and throwing it in the middle of a desert. So that's to show that the 7 heavens in comparison to the footstool of Allah is nothing. Imagine one of us was to stand in the middle of a desert and all of the 7 heavens and the earth is understood in that little what? Piece of armor, piece of metal. And we threw it in the middle of the desolate desert. How can we now see that the 7 heavens and the earth are what we deem to be so huge and magnificent in comparison to the footstool of Allah is bigger than that? There's no comparison. That's huge. Then we know that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ talked about above the footstool is the water that hovers in the air. That there's a water, there's a ma, there's water. That we know that there's water that hovers in the air. There's no one holding it up except Allah Ta'ala. That water, in which you'll find the great Imam Sheikh Ahmed Najmi, said that after the kursi there is the water. And the proof of that is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in His book, وَكَانَ عَرْشُهُ عَلَى الْمَاءِ. That Allah's throne is above water. That's an ayah. That His arsh is above the ma, it's above water. So there is water, a great vast, huge water that hovers in the air. Nothing holding it up. Above the kursi. That is in the air. And to contemplation of this amazing makhluk, or this amazing creation that Allah Ta'ala made, that He created, hovering in the air, huge. Then above the water is the throne of Allah Ta'ala. Then you have the narrations that said that paradise is the high of paradise and Firdaus. Paradise is above that, and then you have after that is the Arsh, which is the Saqf al-Makhluqat. As it comes in the narration that says, وَأَعْلَى الْمَخْلُقَاتِ لِقَوْلِ النَّبِيِّ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ. إذا سألتم الله فاسألوه الفردوس فإنه وسط الجنة وأعلى الجنة وفوقه عرش الرحمن. Which comes in al-Bukhari. But the Messenger of Allah ﷺ had mentioned and said, if you to ask Allah for Firdaus. For verily is the middle of paradise and the highest of paradise, and above it is the Arsh of Allah. So, we know in comparison to the footstool of Allah, which is the Mawdi'ul Qadamain, as we know that it is the place of the 2 feet of Allah Ta'ala, then you have that the Kursi is nothing in comparison to the Arsh. As the Kursi, we know is huge, makes the 7 heavens and the earth look like nothing. What about the Arsh of Allah? The Kursi in itself has dominated the heavens and the earth. As we know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Ayatul Kursi. And Allah describes His Kursi as being tremendous to the point we know that that is a whole ayat that's recited. And it is called Ayatul Kursi, in which we know, in which He taught Ka'b ibn Malik of being the greatest ayat in the book of Allah ta'ala, which is Ayatul Kursi. So Ayatul Kursi, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described the footstool as encompassing, rather dominating, and being bigger than the heavens and the earth. Where in comparison to it is nothing. Now we want to go and compare. Now we go to the comparison between the Kursi and the Arsh. We know that another narration that says that the Kursi, due to its great distance and vastness, and we know that it's huge and big in regards to the 7 heavens and the earth, that it doesn't equate to nothing. What about now the Arsh? The Arsh in comparison to the Kursi is similar to what was mentioned, as it says, Al-Arsh fil Kursi كَحَلْقَةٍ مِّنْ حَدِيدٍ أُلْقِيَ بِأَرْضِ فَلَا. He says, likewise, similar to the Kursi in comparison to the Arsh of Allah, is like the one that takes a ring or a piece of armor or metal, and he stands in the middle of a desolate desert, and he throws it. That's the Kursi in comparison to the Arsh. So this is to let one know, as Ibn Abbas mentioned, it says about the Arsh, that he says, it is the Sarirul Mulk, wa Arsh Allah la yuqaddaru qadru illa Allah, la yuqaddaru qadrahu illa Allah, فهو أعظم المخلوقات كلها وله قوائم. He said that the Arsh of Allah, Ta'ala, he says it is Sarirul Mulk. He said it is the bed or the roof of the kingdom of Allah Ta'ala, meaning the creation. And the Arsh of Allah cannot be what? Measured. It's too big, it's huge. No one knows its distance except Allah. And it's the greatest of all of the creation. And we know that the Arsh, that it has qawa'im. That it has qawa'im. That it has those what? Those qa'ima. That it has those type of you translate qa'ima as. That it has those type of legs in which it what? That it is upon, in which we'll find in the narrations of which Musa will be raised up on the day of resurrection, and he will be grabbing by one of the qa'im, the qawa'im al-arsh, that those things that holds up the arsh, that Musa will be holding one of them. And the kayfiyah of that, Allah knows best. As far as the arsh being above the creation, Allah Ta'ala has created the arsh and is from the makhluqat. It is the greatest of the makhluqat. And we know it is huge and vast in comparison to the 7 heavens and the kursi, and it makes the kursi look like nothing. The arsh of Allah Ta'ala in comparison to the kursi makes it look like it's totally insignificant. If that's what Abdullah ibn Mas'ud mentioned and said in this other, he says, the arsh, وَالْعَرْشُ فَوْقَ الْمَاءِ وَاللَّهُ فَوْقَ الْعَرْشِ وَلَا يَخْفَى عَلَيْهِ شَيْءٍ مِّنْ أَعْمَالِكُمْ. He says that the arsh is above water. The throne is above water, and Allah is above the arsh. If we know that the greatest of creation is the arsh of Allah, then what about the Creator? How Allah Ta'ala is Himself. How huge and big and magnificent and dominant. And Allah Ta'ala is above the arsh. And nothing is hidden from Him via actions. You'll find that Allah Ta'ala is bigger than everything. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is bigger than everything. And He's above, and the creation is all of the creation is underneath Him, Ta'ala. And He is above them. above the creation. And the creation is underneath Allah subhanahu jalla fil ula. Allah tabarak wa ta'ala is also bigger than everything. He's akbar min kulli shay. So that is the reason why we say, even as far as the aql, the intellect, that Allah tabarak wa ta'ala is bigger than everything. How can you now say that the creation encompasses Allah tabarak wa ta'ala from all the great directions? They say the directions of the east and the west and the north and the south. Rather, we say that Allah, He encompasses everything because He's bigger than everything. And He's above everything. And He encompasses everything in His knowledge, in His awareness, and being knowledgeable and aware of everything tabarak wa ta'ala of His creation. Allah tabarak wa ta'ala also mentions about the night and the day. How the night and the day, that they what? That request that it alternates and one comes beyond or comes behind the other very quickly and fast. You'll find that, as we know, the day and the night, all of them, that none except, or one supersedes the other. The night doesn't supersede the day and the day doesn't supersede the night. They do not combine. Rather, all of them have been subjected, commanded, dominated, and been what? Subservient to a command. And they do not go outside of it. And it is clear if one is to look in the heavens, if one was to see that there was a what? A star for the day and a star for the night. That was an architect and a creator that made it, without any denial. And that the heavens and the earth likewise, especially the sun and the moon, that they will be folded up on the day of resurrection. They will be folded, and some of the narrations say that they even were into the hellfire, in which, like we said, the narrations, the authenticity of it, I have to check it, but some of Ahl Ilm say that it is Hasan, that some of them say that it is, that what is intended that the hellfire of the sun and the moon will be in hell, it says not because of the affair of, because they may have done some type of disobedience, as some people would probably say or think. He says, however, is to what? It's in order to humiliate the people who worship them in this dunya, to have severe regret and remorse of what they've done. That they will be put in the hellfire the hereafter, and they will be folded up and put in hell due to command of Allah, in which it will be utilized to humiliate those who associated partners with Allah by taking these two stars or two great creation as worship besides Allah. If you look in your book, if you look in your books in Usul al-Thalatha, I'm about to conclude the lesson. If we look in the book, everyone, it says, doesn't it not belong to Him, the creation and the command? In so many ayats, Allah Ta'ala mentions creation. Creation due to the fact that anything that deserves to be worshipped has to have the characteristic of khalq. As khalq is the greatest characteristic, or from the greatest characteristics of rububiyyah. If something is a Lord, or something that deserves to be worshipped, then it has to have the what? The ability to create, to have khalq. You'll find that Allah uses this characteristic in His book as an argument to establish against His creation. That anything that you so-called deem to be a deity of worship and to be all-powerful, are they able to create? Are they able to bring something from non-existence into existence? You'll find that every creation in which you'll bring of those who associate partners along with Allah, none of them have the ability of khalq. None of them. Not the sun, not the moon, not the stars, not the righteous, not the wretched, not the prophets, not the messengers either, nor those who made enmity with them. None of them have the ability of khalq. You'll notice that there's so many ayats in the book of Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about creation, created of everything. Doesn't it not belong to Him, the khalq, the affair of khalq, of creation? Or that which you worship besides Him cannot create an atom's weight, or atoms of a mosquito, or a fly, or the wing of a mosquito, or certain ayat where Allah Ta'ala talks about how they cannot even create the little wrapper that's around the date, meaning inside of it. They cannot even create that. Even if all of the men and jinn were to come together and try to create something, they could not even create these type of affairs at all. Allah Ta'ala talks about that all of them are all rely upon His Ta'ala's creation in order to copy it or in order to so-called follow behind it. But they cannot bring something from non-existence into existence. So we say that if anything if it befits to be a creation or creator, a deity of worship, then it needs to have the characteristic of khalq. And we know that the only one who has the characteristic is Allah Ta'ala. Nothing other than Allah Ta'ala has the characteristic of khalq, where it can bring something from existence into a non-existence, or bring the dead back to the life. Can't do that either. Nor raise the people back after they become dead. So Allah created the creation, brought it from non-existence into existence. Then Allah will cause them to die. Then Allah Ta'ala will resurrect them. And no one can do that. None of the idols that are associated as partners, not the prophets, not the messengers. So the one who does this only is the one that deserves to be worshipped. That's an example of that. If you look in your books, and we'll end the class off here. What does it say in Surah Al-Baqarah? If you look in your books, in Usul Thalatha, it says, "O people, worship your Lord, the one who created you, and the one who created those before you, in order perhaps that you will have taqwa, fear of Him." Allah Ta'ala has mentioned in this ayah again the affair of khalq, the affair of creation. Why? To establish that He is the one that only has this characteristic. No one else has it. And if He's the only one that has that characteristic, He is the only one that deserves to be worshipped. And we know that khalq is part of His rububiyyah, is part of rububiyyah. Again, Allah Ta'ala in so many ayahs, as we know, establishes rububiyyah in order to affirm and establish against the creation that He's the one that also deserves to be worshipped. طيب. If you look in your books in Surah Al-Baqarah, if you look in Usul Thalatha, go back to Usul Thalatha, and we'll stop here. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about, He is the one that made the earth a firash, وَالسَّمَاءَ بِنَاءً وَأَنزَلَ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ مَاءً فَأَخْرَجَ بِهِ مِنَ الثَّمَرَاتِ رِزْقًا لَكُمْ فَلَا تَجْعَلُوا لِلَّهِ أَنْدَادًا وَأَنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. He is one that has made for you the earth as a firash, as a place to walk about, or to go about your daily affairs, to walk on. And He has made the heavens raised as a tremendous structure to be above you. He has sent down from the heavens that rain, in which brings forth or brings about that agriculture and that sustenance and that fruit and that vegetation as provisions for you. Do not set up partners with Allah, even though you know. And this is where we'll stop at, inshallah. And we'll finish this next week. We're going to start the Kitab al-Siyam. So Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah number 22, is where we stopped at, and we'll continue to follow up next week, inshallah. Is there any questions about the lesson? I have to go over to sister side. I can't hear. Let me see. I'll say it again. The only thing I did, if you look in your books, I read the principle where it says from his creation. Oh, let me go back to it. If it's said to you, how do you know your Lord? From what sign? From his ayat or from his makhluqat? From his signs is the night and the day and the sun and the moon. If you turn the page, the next principle, from his creation is the seven heavens, the seven earths, and what is in them, what is between them. Then if you turn the page, it says, or it's in the same page, some people's books, it's on the same page. The evidence and proof from that is, from his ayat is the night and the day and the sun and the moon. Do not prostrate to the sun nor to the moon, prostrate to the one who created them. If you truly, in reality, or if in truly, indeed, that you alone worship, or him alone that you worship. If you flip the page, it says, and verily your Lord is the one that created the heavens and the earth in 6 days. Then he ascended above the arsh. The night covers the day, and it seeks it quickly. The sun and the moon and the stars are subjected to his command. Doesn't it not belong to him, the creation? To the end of the ayah. Then if you turn the page, it says, O people, worship your Lord, the one who created you and the one who created those before you, to the end of the ayah. So basically, I took all these ayats and just put them all together and just explained them all at the same time. So it could save us time. Some of the explanation in which we already explained is a little bit repetitive. So if I was to go on, for example, Rububiyyah, Uluhiyyah, alhamdulillah, we already explained that to the sisters. So I have to keep repeating it. It's a little bit repetitive. So that's the reason why I skipped and kind of just summarized everything at the same time so we can get inside the other parts of the book, which is important. Because some things we don't want to keep being repetitive every week, and repetitive. People saying, okay, well, we already talked about that 5 times before, 10 times before. Why is it to be repeated over and over again? So alhamdulillah, for the most part, some of the things that were mentioned, it was already mentioned in previous classes, so I don't want to say it again out of fear that maybe some people will become bored, or certain people would just say that, well, we don't need to attend the class because we already heard that. So now we want to summarize everything so we can try to finish up and finalize the book because it's taking a little bit long. Because I know certain people say, well, Surah Thalath is not that long. It's only about 2 pages, 3 pages of principles, maybe about 4 or 5 pages of principles. But we're taking a little bit longer than what certain people would take. Due to the fact I'm taking my time because the importance of this book, the importance of it, and to extract all the different benefits in it, and to try to include certain details that weren't mentioned in certain lessons in order to what? Give a little bit more insight to certain affairs that are in Kitab al-Tawheed. And we're trying to basically also combine a little bit what's connected with Kitab al-Tawheed in Usul Thalatha likewise. And all of it at the end of the day is all connected and all correlates. It's all the same, almost. So that's basically it. As far as the last part, if everyone looks in their book, it talks about some of the types of worship, like khashya and nadar, istighatha. Those, affairs, I think we should probably more than like isti'adha, tawakkul, istighatha, dhabh, slaughtering for Allah. All these affairs were mentioned in Kitab al-Tawheed. So when we get to those chapters, we could probably skip that due to the fact that was covered in Kitab al-Tawheed. We talked about istighatha, isti'adha, all that was mentioned. So when we get to that, because if you look in your book in Usul Thalatha, it starts speaking about that, about the different aspects of worship. More than likely, inshallah, we'll skip that due to the fact that was covered in Kitab al-Tawheed. So I don't think that there will be a need for us to go in those details. But as far as iman, ihsan, for example, dua, supplication, I don't think we have to explain that. Dua, that's another chapter. Istighatha, tawakkul, khashya, isti'ana, istighatha. Walillahi alhamd, I think we don't have to do it. We could just start with the other chapters. So if I skip it, so sisters don't find it strange, because like I said, a lot of those details was covered in Kitab al-Tawheed. So we don't have to go over that again. We'll stop here and we'll continue the next class in about another 10 minutes, inshallah.